Hey everybody, welcome back. So in today's video, I wanted to kind of do a shorter video where I'm just kind of giving you the center of the bullseye, or kind of the 80-20 principle here, the 20% that makes 80% of the difference when it comes to your healing and your personal transformational work, your trauma release, however you want to think of that. Both outside of psychedelic therapy work and also inside of psychedelic therapy work. I really think that kind of the focal point is the same either way. And I'd like to communicate that to you here in this video so that you can kind of understand more clearly what you're up to here, what to look for, how to tune in on this and really get results faster and easier. So let's talk about it. Okay, so as a coach, part of my work here is really to try to pull together all these different ideas from all over the place based on my own experience, my own self-healing, my work with my clients and the repetitive patterns and things that I see over and over with people, based on my trainings, based on things I'm learning and studying, and really trying to pull together all these different models of understanding into a coherent, clear articulation for you to save you time, to save you effort, to save you money, to save you stress, and help you get what you really need, the transformation, the healing, the release, the leveling up easier and faster. That's really my intention here on the channel. That's why I do what I do. I do it because I care. I do it because it's a passion. I do it because there are a lot of people who, there's an ocean of different ideas out there who are confused and overwhelmed and have maybe a little piece of the thing but don't have the whole thing, and are struggling to figure it out. So that's why this conversation exists with you. With that being said, today what I want to convey, like I said in the intro, is kind of the center of the bullseye, the main thing we're aiming for here. Or another way you can think about this is I want to really show you what the most common, most likely patterns are that I see over and over and over with people. Or another way of thinking about this, for those of you who are familiar with the 80-20 principle, is I want to teach you that 10% or 20% that's going to get you that 90% or 80% of the result here. So I really want to kind of simplify, clarify, and empower you to know exactly what to work on in order to start to really get a powerful, healing, positive, transformational experience, right? This is what it's about. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive in. And I'm going to give you 3 different points here, 3 different things that I consider all to be really at the center of the bullseye here and all really fit together. They're all kind of part of the same understanding, but I'm breaking them down into smaller pieces so that you really get each part of this. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So the first thing I really want you to deeply, clearly, fully register and understand. This is the essential fucking core piece right here, okay? Is that what is going to heal you? What is going to help you transform, release your past, move past these patterns of dysfunction or suffering or whatever is going on for you? What's really going to make it work is some form of connection. And this really is the center of the bullseye, is connection. Connection is what's going to heal you 9.9 times out of 10, okay? Now, when I say that, I understand that the word connection is vague, and you're probably wondering, or could be wondering, connection to what exactly, right? And so I want to specify that in general, if we're talking the territory and all the different iterations of personal healing work, there are a lot of different things that it could be that we need to connect with in order to really have that healing experience. But I found that there is something in specific in order to connect with, and that's what we're going to talk about next. But the first thing I want you to get here is that your healing is going to come through some form of connection. So at this point, you're probably going, okay, don't keep me in suspense. Connection to what? What I've found is that in general, again, there are all kinds of different things that can be healing for connection, particularly when we're talking psychedelics here, but even in general with just doing, healing work and transformational work with people. In specific, the thing I see over and over is connection to ourselves. This is more often than not, the missing piece is that, again, I don't want to put shame or blame or judgment on parents or on family systems that generally work well. But what I find over and over and over is that most of the people I work with or engage with or talk with, and even just the people I see in my own life, are really bad at connecting to their own experience. This is the thing that never got learned. How to connect to our own body, how to connect to our own emotions, how to connect to our own authentic feelings and truth, how to connect to the different parts of us inside of ourselves that may be self-expressing, how to connect to and soothe and regulate and balance out the places of fear or stress or overwhelm that we might be kind of like suppressing, how to connect to the places of joy and excitement and desire that we might also be suppressing, et cetera, right? So again, that's why I say connection heals, and there are a lot of things you could connect to, but in specific, self-connection is the first place to start. And this is really the thing that, unless you were raised in a really beautiful, highly attuned way where your parents helped you to connect and recognize your own emotions and recognize what was happening inside of yourself and be in alignment in self-connection, which again, most parents didn't, you probably are lacking this skill. And this is why I think, in our society right now, you often see a lot of people who they wouldn't look back on their childhood and go, I grew up in a traumatic environment. I grew up, in a dysfunctional family. There's a lot of people who wouldn't say that, who are like, things were fine. I had two loving parents and plenty of money, and I was safe and I was loved and I had friends and I had, a generally good, childhood experience, who still have a trauma patterning. And a lot of times what this is that they were not raised in a way where they're connected to themselves. So connection is what heals. Self-connection in particular is the first place I would look. There are other things too, though. I mean, spiritual connection to people, to safe relationships, to the earth, to life. There's a lot that we can connect with, but self-connection would be the first thing. And then I have one more point here, so don't go away. Now, the thing I want you to understand about self-connection is that how you connect to yourself makes all the difference in terms of whether or not you're going to heal and transform or not. So it's not just self-connection, because you could self-connect theoretically through self-judgment, self-shaming, and being harsh on yourself. And that would technically be a form of self-connection, but that's not necessarily going to be healing for you. So the missing skill here that I see over and over and over, whether I'm talking with people online, potential clients, et cetera, is how we connect to ourselves, and in specific, exercising secure relationship skills or secure attachment skills with ourselves. The number one problem, the most common, most pervasive thing I see with people is self-judgment. That, someone has an issue, right? They come to me, they're like, I have depression, I have anxiety, I have, this thing I can't get over, or I have this dysfunctional habit pattern I want to level up from, whatever it is. And what's there alongside having the problem is self-judgment, almost always. In fact, I don't think I can think of a client that I've known who was able to easily have compassion for their own issues, problems, suffering, right? So self-judgment implies that you are not relating to yourself through the lens of secure attachment. And so the first resource, there's a lot of resources, and I'm all about developing resource states and getting in touch with feeling really powerful feelings of transformative things like bliss and ecstasy and oneness, and using those as fuel for transformation. This is one of the things I want to teach you, and one of the things that I kind of specialize in this space. But the first resource state that we need in order to be able to do any of this healing work, in order to be able to move forward and transform and let go of whatever the issue is that we want to let go of, we need to be able to relate to ourselves through a lens of secure attachment. Now, in particular, or rather, let me put it this way. A lot of times people hear about secure attachment, and what they think is that, isn't that kind of the end goal of doing attachment work, which is this long, ongoing process of repatterning the early learnings from my childhood and letting go of, whatever kind of insecure attachment style I have. And eventually I can slowly start to train myself to feel and operate from a secure place in myself, which, yes, I think big picture, that's true. But I also think you can learn how to operate in a secure way without having totally totally integrated that and become that completely. So you can start to practice secure relating, even though you still have maybe some insecure attachment style there. Now, as you do this, you get better at it, right? And I think we, can either recognize it when we start to hear more about secure attachment, or we can start to recognize it around us with the way people relate to certain beings in their life. It could be people, could be, kids, could be even pets, can be related to in the secure way that we know when we see it. We know what it is to be related to in a secure way. And if you don't know, I'd encourage you to look up secure attachment, start to learn about it. It's also something I'll probably be talking about more, so watch here on the channel. But the point I want to make here is you can operate through that set of behaviors, and it will have a healing effect on two levels. One, you'll be learning how to give secure attachment, which will be healing for those around you. And two, if you're relating to yourself, your parts, your dysfunction, aspects of yourself through this lens of secure attachment, you will feel that benefit right away. So that'll start to heal this rift inside of yourself, this inner conflict, and it'll start, and you'll feel the safety of secure attachment while giving it to yourself, right? So we're talking about self-relationship here. So it's two aspects of yourself relating, right? So this is the missing piece for most people. And I don't think it's a useful belief system or assumption. I don't even think it's accurate to think that secure attachment is something to put off towards the end. It's something you can't learn how to do until you totally feel secure. I think it's something to start learning and recognizing how to do and practicing right away as part of your self-healing practice and process here. Now, as you relate to, so this is how we heal trauma. Let me be clear. Secure attachment is what is necessary to resolve relational trauma. Okay. And so the sooner you learn how to do this, and the sooner you learn how to bring this to yourself, the sooner you are practicing trauma healing with yourself, if that makes sense. So this is the how of trauma healing. So if you go to a trauma therapist, what they're going to do is work with you, and part of what makes the exercises and the processes and the work that releases all the trauma actually function is feeling safely connected to that person you're working with, right? So this is foundational. This is how we heal trauma. You can't really heal trauma if you don't feel safe enough in your nervous system to let it go. Right? So you have to give yourself these safety signals first. The way you do that is by practicing secure attachment with yourself. And again, this starts to create self-connection, right? Which starts to create connection in general, the feeling of connection inside of yourself in your life, which starts to heal. So in my mind, this is the center of the bullseye for what most people are wanting to work on. Most of the reason people, have an anxiety issue, a depression issue, a life stress issue, a freeze issue, I can't figure my life out issue, a motivation issue, blah, 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 right? A lot of that boils down to stored stress in the nervous system or attachment wounding stuff, not feeling safe. Once you start kind of like getting the rest of the story there's a lot more there. And generally, what it boils down to most of the time is that we don't know how to self-regulate because we don't know how to connect to ourselves, and we don't know how to relate to ourselves through a secure lens. So that is something that can be learned outside of psychedelics and practiced outside of psychedelics, and I think should be. You shouldn't only be doing this on psychedelics, and it's also something you can deepen and practice with psychedelic therapy or using psychedelics. That's really going to start to repattern and unlock and heal and transform what needs transforming. So I hope this clarifies the territory for you. In my mind, this is really the center of the bullseye again, and there are lots of different ways that it kind of branches out from here, different ways that it can go, especially if you're talking psychedelic sessions. For example, one person takes, a person, let's say, takes psilocybin one time. They have this huge somatic, overwhelmed stress experience out of nowhere. Their life's going fine. There's no reason really for them to have this kind of response. Suddenly these big freaked out, overwhelmed feelings come up. Now, connection is how we work with that. We connect to that. We don't abandon that. We don't judge it. We don't shame it. We don't try to squash it. We work with it through connection, right? And connecting to it all of a sudden unpacks it. And there's a lot of healing that can happen when that part of us that's expressing this stress feels connected to, honored, listened to, etc., right? So that's one way that could go. But in that same person could take mushrooms another day, another week, and suddenly they're having this big bliss, ecstasy experience, right? They're having this oneness and this feeling of fulfillment. Again, that's something also to connect to. That's also something that you want to deeply connect to, not as an exotic new experience in your life, but as an aspect of yourself, as an aspect of your being, right? And really, really register and really integrate that. Oh, that blissful part of me exists, and it wants to express itself as well, right? So I hope I've kind of clarified the territory here a bit for you. So again, connection, self-connection in specific, and secure attachment is the way that we build that. These are the fundamentals of really healing and transforming yourself. And it's really that simple. And all the other stuff, all the other moving parts are beautiful and powerful. There's a lot of ways we can go about this. It can be really intense to self-connect. That can invite huge traumatic releases. So this is definitely territory where you might want support from someone who is tuned in and attuned to you and knows how to deal with, supporting you if you're having a traumatic experience or traumatic kind of release. But this is kind of the heart of the work here, as far as I'm concerned. So again, I hope this clarifies, hope this supports you. And let me know what you think. Let me know if this resonates for you, hits home for you. Leave a comment down below. I've already talked too much. So much love to you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.